Tonight, daring rescue.
We saw her struggling in the water.
A Calgary man comes to the rescue of a woman caught in the current of the Bow. Diversity Cup. It's action on the field with a message of battling racism off the field. And Fish Creek cleanup. Dozens of volunteers hard at work cleaning up the debris from last month's flooding.
You're watching Global News Calgary with Krista Platzer.
Good evening. A daring river rescue this afternoon. A Calgary man is credited with saving a young woman's life after some tense moments on the Bow River. Calgary Water Rescue was called out to the Fort Calgary area boat launch after someone was reported to be in trouble in the Bow River. A man and his wife enjoying the afternoon floating down the bow spotted the woman. That's when Eric Hagland jumped in to help.
We saw her struggling in the water, and she was definitely in need of help. So I told my wife to just grab the cell phone and call 911. And I dove in, caught up with her about 200 yards downstream. She was face down in the water, and we found a fairly shallow spot, and I pulled her up onto my chest and waited for a rescue.
We launched our boats, and we had another boat already in the river. They came out to remove the patient from the water. She was unconscious when they got her. And they turned the patient over to EMS. She was conscious in the ambulance when the ambulance left.
Eric Hagland says he just did what he hopes anyone would do. The 22-year-old woman was taken to hospital. Her condition is still unknown at this time. As to how the young woman got into trouble on the river is under investigation. Arson investigators are looking into what caused a suspicious fire at a home in the downtown early this morning. Fire crews were called to the 500 block of 11th Avenue Southeast at about 6:30. When they arrived, the home was fully engulfed in flames. 2 people were inside the home at the time but escaped unharmed. Investigators say the fire likely started outside the home and suspect it may have been deliberately set. No word on a damage estimate. Calgary police have a unique way of battling racial intolerance. Every year they host a 2-day soccer tournament called the Diversity Cup. As John Galka reports tonight, participants in the event say Calgarians have come a long way towards understanding and building friendships with the ever-growing multicultural population.
Like almost any Calgary street on this soccer field, you'll hear a lot of different languages spoken. Calgary's ever-growing multicultural population has created some explosive situations between cultural groups and between cultural groups and the police.
Sometimes there's a little bit of conflict, and it's good to resolve the conflict here. So this kind of just promotes it and makes everybody get along and have some fun while you're at it.
To help people from different cultures come together under sometimes difficult and tense situations, the Calgary Police Service started a soccer tournament 3 years ago.
Once people come together and understand that, we're all basically the same, it makes things a lot easier, and we can work through a lot of different issues.
It's just to get the community together, It's great that the Calgary Police are involved, It shows that they understand, care about the community.
Most of these players say their experience in Calgary has been positive in terms of the way visual minorities are being treated. Other organizations are trying to make sure it stays that way. The Don't Buy In project encourages elementary and high school students to resist groups that are racially intolerant.
A lot of the students, when you go in, they have no clue, what the difference is between a crime, regular, common assault versus a hate crime.
Along with building tolerance and understanding, the soccer players say there's an added bonus.
It's not just competitive, you're actually building friendships and getting to know people.
You should be united, okay, when you're soccer, when you play soccer.
John Galka, Global News, Calgary.
A number of Calgary organizations is dedicated to improving multicultural relations in the city. Now, if you're new to Calgary and having difficulty or in need of help, the Calgary Immigrant Aid Society is available for assistance. A city man has pleaded guilty to a crack-fueled crime spree that left a Calgary senior fighting for his life. Adam Grieve admitted he robbed the Petrocan on 16th Ave and 6th Street Northeast last February and stabbed the clerk in the chest. 65-year-old Denton Grant suffered serious damage to his heart and lung and then developed complications that left him in intensive care for weeks. Grieve held up another gas station 30 minutes later. The Crown and the defense have agreed that a 6.5-year prison term is warranted. The judge will decide on the sentence August 10th. A 20-year-old woman viciously attacked in Banff is no longer in a coma and has returned home to Ottawa. The hotel worker began breathing on her own and her condition improved from critical to serious. She was flown home to Ottawa from Foothills Hospital yesterday. The family says they're glad she's home and would like to thank everyone for their thoughts and prayers. The woman was found beaten and half naked in a park in Banff on July 11th. Albert George Muckle is charged with attempted murder and aggravated sexual assault. He'll be back in provincial court on August the 8th. A man accused of swinging an axe at Hobbema RCMP is in custody tonight. Police went to the Ermineskin Reserve to check out reports of an assault Thursday morning. When they drove out to the scene, they were confronted by a man armed with an axe and a machete. The man swung at their vehicle once with the axe, so they backed away to a safe distance, got out, ordered the man to drop his weapons. He did so and was arrested without any more trouble. 21-year-old Stephen Bradley Ermineskin is charged with assaulting a police officer as well as several weapons offenses. The cleanup is underway. Dozens of volunteers are hard at work at Fish Creek Park this long weekend in the hunt for garbage and waste.
And there's something too. Something.
The flooding that hit our area last month caused millions of dollars in damages to the park. The damage so extensive a full assessment has not yet been completed. Today, the Friends of Fish Creek Park were busy cleaning up the debris left behind. 7 of 18 bridges were washed away and more than 40% of the trails in the park are still closed. It may take years to fully clean up the park and repair what has been lost.
A lot of wood and weeds and logs that have wrapped around the high side of each log or tree or anything like that. And the volunteers are taking that apart, spreading out the natural vegetation, so any logs, weeds, anything like that, down onto the ground, and picking up the garbage, so plastic, clothing, canisters of propane, you name it, whatever people find.
Contractors will eventually be brought into Fish Creek Park to help restore some of the trails and bridges that were washed out. After dramatic raids in London yesterday, all 4 suspects in the July 21st botched suicide attacks are now in police custody. British officials believe those arrests are just the tip of the iceberg that could help unravel an entire terror network. Today, anti-terror officers are questioning the 4 men to find out more about their connections. Keir Simons has the latest from London tonight.
After yesterday's success, today the police got straight back to work. This is the estate in West London, where 2 suspected bombers were arrested. Pictures of that dramatic arrest obtained exclusively by ITV News. But just because these men are in custody, police are warning the threat is still real. A forensic examination is underway of the scene here. Meanwhile, there'll be forensic cross-examination of the suspects. Questions the police need answers to include: were the failed bombings connected to the July the 7th bombings? Was there a mastermind? And most importantly, is there a 3rd terrorist cell planning another attack? Detectives will first want to establish whether the bombing cell has a 5th member. The brother of one of the suspects was held in yesterday's raids. Then there's the potential link with the successful bombers. Did they know each other and plan their attacks together? Other connections will also be probed. For example, did any of the men meet Richard Reed, the shoe bomber? Then there's the question of who planned it all. Is there a mastermind controlling Al-Qaeda cells in Britain? And it doesn't stop there. What of the bomb makers and other sympathizers who made the attacks possible?
Sometimes it's just the one that's going to do the attack and this is all they know. But from what it seems now, it looks like they know more. They've been more involved in planning and things like that. They knew more than just normal suicide bombers.
Psychologists say the police do have a number of advantages, including that these men may not have been trained to deal with questioning. The information coaxed from them may prevent another terrorist outrage.
And there's still lots more to come on Global News at 6. After the break, an out-of-this-world view of Earth, the latest on the shuttle Discovery, and today's spacewalk. That story next on Global News. During their 7 hours in space, they completed several small jobs, such as replacing a global positioning system antenna. They also tested some new techniques for repairing a shuttle damaged in flight. This was the first of 3 planned excursions from the Discovery. The next one is scheduled for Monday. Hundreds of eyes were on the skies over Lethbridge today as the Alberta International Air Show dazzled the crowds. Known as one of the country's premier air shows, the annual event features some of the world's best aerobatic pilots and aircraft. And with not a cloud in the sky, conditions were picture perfect for viewing the show. Spectators were treated to some high-flying performances as well as planes and displays across the tarmac. The air show continues again tomorrow. What a beautiful day.
Yes.
Now, most of us, because this next little story is kind of cute,
Yes.
have at one time looked up into the sky and tried to find shapes in the clouds.
You got to see this. Last night, a Calgary man spotted something really interesting. Just as the electrical storm was blowing through, Kevin Van Brock was videotaping the lightning storm when he noticed one cloud was taking on the shape of a face. Now, if you look at the cloud to the right on your screen, keep an eye to the one on the right, you can see lips, a nose, an eye, and a hairline becoming clearly defined. Incredible.
That's pretty cool.
It is neat. I want to keep that videotape.
You can think of like all kinds of things in the sky.
Yeah, you got to use your imagination. Closest I've ever seen. I once had a potato chip that looked like Jimmy Hughes, but nothing like the clouds in the sky. Hey, let's take a look at what we're in for.
29 degrees.
Yeah.
We could possibly reach the hottest day of the year.
Hottest day of the year so far. Well, 29.2. Our high temperature still up there at 29. The day that was, and I'll tell you, I had some sunscreen on my face. I had an SPF sun protection factor of 15, which is recommended when you have the UV index at 7 or high. And I have a little red in the face. I should have pumped it up a bit, being fair-skinned. Going to be using the sunscreen not just today, though. Going to need it right on through the long weekend. Good news if you like sunshine and like warm temperatures. High 29. And I'm thinking by 11 o'clock we might have to adjust that to say 30 degrees through the supper hour. It is very nice, and that is warmer than average. You look at the average sheet, and we see things at 24 degrees. So 5 better there. A low was 10 degrees very early this morning, and pretty much that is the average low temperature. Now, will we get to that record? The record is 33, 91 years back to 1914. Other side of things, record low, 2 from 1917. Love it this time of the year when you say, hey, it might reach that record high, but not even going to come close to that record low. Matter of fact, across your 7-day forecast, looking very warm through the overnighters. Good news, but not such great news if you like to sleep. Sunday looks scorching. Forecast high of 31, calling it hot, hot, hot. Southwesterly flow with us not just this evening, but a wake up and through tomorrow afternoon, and a clear evening in the works. Just gorgeous right on through. Toasty morning, downright warm, starting things off at the 17-degree mark, so you know you're going to be in for a warm one when you see high teen temperatures to get things started. We are tracking a low pressure system. Matter of fact, going to put that low in and around the Edmonton area. For the most part, jet stream going to go through the capital. Not going to really affect Edmonton too much, but its area is north. Chance showers or thunderstorms up through Fort McMurray. Talking about the same thing through Grand Prairie. These areas with instability, maybe up to high level, but down south remaining very nice. We're going to see a whole lot of sunshine right on through. Put that down through southern areas of the province. And we're going to call it hot, hot, hot right on down. And as a matter of fact, take a look at the temperatures, most southern areas of our province. Going to see our high again at 31. 30 maybe today, and then maybe 31 tomorrow. Looking pretty good. 32 for Lethbridge, rather. 34 in Medistat. Now, Lethbridge will have a chance of some instability bubbling on up. Would not doubt if they had a shower or a thunderstorm. 31 in Cranbrook. 23, rather. Grand Prairie, Fort McMurray, seeing that instability. Still very warm, a little bit cooler when you talk about high level. Here's your 7-day. Calling it hot tomorrow. Chance of some afternoon or early evening showers on Monday. Mainly sunny otherwise. 28. Mild Tuesday and Wednesday. 22 through 21. And then warmer Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Temperatures between 26 and 27. We will update your 7-day forecast at the end of the news.
Thanks very much, Andy. Kevin's here, or Doug. I was so used to saying Kevin. Silly me.
It's nice to throw you a curveball every now and then.
Doug's here now with sports, and hey, it's the NHL draft today,
Yep.
and Stamps in action last night.
Yeah, guess who went first overall in the draft?
Sidney Crosby.
Oh, I didn't know if you'd had that or not. Sports coming up
Was
next.
it a surprise?
Maybe just to me. I don't know.
The new era of the NHL beginning in Ottawa with the most anticipated player joining the league since Eric Lindros. Remember that debacle? We speak, of course, of Sidney Crosby, but we'll hold that drama for what there is for now and instead go to the 26th overall selection, that one belonging to our Calgary Flames.
We'd like to thank our loyal and patient fans for their support during the last year. With our first pick in the 2005 entry draft, we select from the Sarnia Sting, Matthew Pelech.
Well, he's a kid that we've watched all winter, and quite honestly, we think he's a little bit under the radar because of the injuries that he's had with the broken jaw this winter. So, you know, when you're picking late in the first round, you're looking at kids that are 2 or 3 years out, and we see him as a project prospect.
Daryl Sutter, nothing if not succinct and to the point after drafting Phaneuf last season, who's going to argue. As we go through the selections, another defenseman, Gord Baldwin, a 6'5", 200-pounder from the WHL Tigers, followed by center Dan Ryder of the OHL Petes. But then they go local, a Calgary boy, J.D. Watt, who plays for the Vancouver Giants, and they go even more local with their second last selection, Daryl's own son, Brett. How interesting is this? He's the second son of a great Sutter to be drafted by the Flames, if you will. Brett, actually a good hockey player, who's with the Kootenay Ice and has lots of talent, but has had injury problems. Well, a big day for a lot of young hockey players from the Calgary area, but no one was wondering who would go first overall, of course. Tish reports, Boychuk reports on the day's activities, beginning with the drama, but not surprise, of Pittsburgh's selection.
It's a very, very, very lucky day for our organization.
Well, no kidding. King Crosby has finally been crowned as the top pick and will now shoulder much of the pressure to revive a team on the brink.
As for, you know, the feeling I have about that, I look at it as a challenge. You know, I'm not going to put too much added pressure on myself. I want to play in the NHL, like I said, and after that I can worry about, you know, things beyond that.
Bobby, you had the Rimouski product was one of 4 players from the queue to go in the first round. Of the top 30 picks, 9 of them came from the OHL, while the Dub produced 4.
Gets it back and scores. The Saskatoon Blades, Devin Setaguchi.
3 WHL products landed in the top 10, including Tabor's Devin Setaguchi. He went 8th to San Jose, who did some dealing with Atlanta to get him in round 2. The WHL took bragging rights with 7 of its players being called, including the Hitmen's Dustin Kahn. The 6'1" defender, ranked 69th heading into the draft, was chosen 46th overall by the New York Islanders. He had 43 points last season for Calgary while sporting a +18.
Knock it loose. Dupont comes out front and scores!
Kahn's teammate Brody Dupont could also be bound for the Big Apple, but on the other team. The 6'2", 190-pound forward fought off the competition, with his name being called by the Rangers 66th overall. He was pegged to go later on in the 3rd round. He picked up 25 points last season.
Leslie will stop it behind the net, played it into the corner, but there's Dupont. Out front to Merkley, he scores!
Riley Merkley potted 27 points last year, but did not crack the top 100, even though the lanky 6'3" center from Blackie, Alberta was ranked 81st by Central Scouting. Tish Boychuk, Global Sports.
And a handful of other Calgary players drafted. Mason Raymond, who played with Camrose of the AJHL, was chosen 51st overall by Vancouver. Dan Bertram of Boston College, 54th by the Blackhawks. LA going to the Camrose Kodiaks for TJ Fast, 60th by the Kings. And as mentioned, the Flames pick up local kid J.D. Watt. Plays for the Giants in that 111th spot. Boston chose Wasey Rabbit of the Saskatoon Blades, 154th. Well, all you need to know about last night's Stamps Lions game, the time of possession. The Lions over 42 minutes, the Stamps over 18 minutes. The fact they add up to 61, well, that's just a comment about the CFL League office we need not discuss today. Total domination by Dave Dickinson and the Lions as he goes deep, often, and big, cranking out 600 yards of offense, over 460 passing. The offense of the Stamps, not that bad. Jermaine Copeland, a 40-yarder, as they get it going in their 18 minutes. They scored 27 points. And Joffrey Reynolds, simply better and better, averaging 10.5 yards a carry and adding this touchdown. Unbelievable is he only had 8 touches. Didn't get the ball enough. The defense didn't get any stops. As for the Lions, Jason Claremont sets the tone, piling up Ronnie Jenkins. And here we go with the kid that can't miss actually missing. DeAngelis missing on effort number 12. He did make 13 and 14. And the Lions, well, Dave Dickinson never seemed to miss a pass he had to make. And there's G-Roy Simon with a touchdown before he got hurt. And then Dickinson in the third. And there's Ryan Thelwell. And then Dickinson and Dickinson and Dickinson. 3 touchdown passes, 35 completions, 469 yards. And they roll. It was tied at 27 after 3, but that defense was getting tired and Henry in trouble here. His only pick of the day, and that sealed the deal. 40-27 Lions. We asked Joey Bose if the defense took a step back last night.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think we took a step forward last night, that's for sure. Like I said, we just we couldn't seem to get off the field when we needed to. They maintained drives, and then we made some mistakes at crucial times.
We played probably the best outing that I've seen a quarterback play all season, maybe in the last number of years. Dave was on, and we were on top of receivers, and he's still throwing the ball, and they're making catches. So you're absolutely correct. We didn't get the productivity that we needed defensively. No turnovers, and it was only the 1 turnover. They got 1 interception on us. So unbelievably well played offensive game for BC, and obviously
And obviously not quite as good for the Stamps defense nor their offense. Need a win next week against Winnipeg, I think, to stay with that upper echelon if they have any hopes of that, Edmonton and BC.
All righty. And asks right now, score 21-13
over the Ticats.
All right, highlights tonight. Thanks, Doug. It is the dog days of summer, and there's a whole lot of action taking place down at Jul.30 Park this weekend. We'll take you there next.